Our high-speed information age of social networking, e-commerce and mobile communications has sprung up in less than 2 decades of disruptive change. Data has taken the place of road, rail, factories and office buildings as the bedrock of the new economy. Such rapid change is always messy. The results of success, mergers, acquisitions and expansion have left a legacy of ramshackle corporate IT infrastructure housing silos of data, much of which has little or no current value. The sheer volume of the data processed by organisations of all types is increasing year on year. A recent survey found that 86% of companies are having to back up more data now than they did 12 months ago. At the same time, stricter regulation and more exacting expectations by end users means that high availability and business continuity are all important. With the new economy so dependent on data and with its volume increasing every day, the wise CIO needs to ask the following questions. First, how much of the data is critical for the day-to-day operation of the organisation and where is it stored? Second, should disaster strike, within what timescale can this mission-critical data be restored in order to comply with regulations and to avoid serious damage to the business? And third, what proportion of the IT budget should be dedicated to ensuring that operational data can be restored within this time frame? To test the current state of play, Computing surveyed 150 senior UK IT professionals at medium to large enterprises. First, we asked them how much data they're currently backing up. 1/3 of companies surveyed are backing up more than 1 terabyte every day, with similar proportions backing up more than 10 terabytes on a monthly basis. A staggering figure, and one that's only going to rise. However, a recent Gartner report estimates that as little as 20% of an enterprise's data may be critical, operational or production data. And the remaining 80%? This is comprised of unstructured or semi-structured data, legacy databases left over from mergers and acquisitions, duplicated documents, log files and so on. At first sight, this looks like good news. If only 20% of the data is mission critical, why worry about backing up and restoring the 80% of non-critical, duplicated or outdated files on a regular basis? Unfortunately, sorting the wheat from the chaff may not be so simple. The first problem is identifying which data is critical to the business. Another is documenting where operational data is stored across the multitude of servers, SANs, NASes, solid state drives and the rest. Indeed, 19% of UK enterprises surveyed were unable to quantify how much operational data they have. And while only a proportion of total data may be mission critical, in real terms, the volumes are still astounding. When asked about the volume of data they believe to be critical to their business's survival, the median reply was 2 to 5 terabytes, with the largest cited by an energy company running into thousands of terabytes. On the plus side, computing found that the vast majority back up at least a proportion of their data every day. This is positive, but recovery from backup systems can be slow, especially when we're talking about terabytes of data. 4 out of 5 businesses surveyed said they've undertaken a full or partial recovery of data or systems from backup, commonly reporting restore times of 24 hours, with a few admitting to anything between several days and 1 week. Bloody ages, grumbled one executive. Moreover, if it takes 24 hours to restore data from backup, then that data will be 24 hours or more out of date. 24 hours is a long time in the new economy. To add to the pressure, some regulatory requirements insist that individual items of data must be retrieved within certain timeframes for e-discovery purposes, for example. So the picture looks like this. Across the extended enterprise, ever-increasing amounts of mission-critical data need to be protected against system failure. In order to comply with increasingly stringent regulations and to satisfy the expectations of customers, staff and suppliers, restoration of applications and data after a disaster must occur in the shortest possible timeframe. Of course, the solution to this problem already exists and has done for some years: replication. Replication is not the same as backup. Whereas backup systems store data frozen in time, replicated data is updated to a mirror site in real or near real time. Such systems are common in the financial sector and in large corporations, allowing mission-critical data and systems to be restored within seconds or minutes rather than hours or days. This ensures that customers, staff and suppliers will suffer the minimum amount of disruption should disaster strike. So, if replication is the answer, why did the survey find that only 58% of organisations are using it? Well, there is a reason that replication is most common in banks and global corporations. It can be extremely expensive with high upfront capital costs. But as we've seen, many organisations with terabytes of active data are not cash-rich global players. They may be a small media company, for example, working with huge video files, a borough council or an online retailer. Such organisations will struggle to justify the expense of a system designed to cover a worst-case scenario. There is another problem too. In building a replica, it's normally necessary to create a parallel version of the enterprise's storage area network environment at a remote site. But if the original storage infrastructure is patched together and inefficient, then the parallel off-site system will be similarly ramshackle. Replicate such infrastructure and you merely replicate the management problems. For example, the computing survey reveals that the vast majority have more than one vendor's products in their storage infrastructure, with 1/4 saying they have 4 or more. Each of these vendors will supply its own middleware, which must also be replicated to the new system. The fact that only 58% of UK enterprises say they currently replicate their systems or data implies the rest are relying on backups for a slow, inefficient operational data restore in the event of a failure. So how can a school, an online retailer or a specialist manufacturer join the global elite of always available corporations? The answer may lie in replication as a service. In replication as a service, asynchronous replication takes place via generic disks hosted by the provider and then shared between customers. This removes the necessity for enterprises to mirror their storage and server estates at a remote location and then staff these sites with expensive personnel. And as it's vendor independent, there's no need to integrate proprietary middleware. Because replication as a service is part of the cloud computing model of purchasing on-demand services rather than maintaining on-premise infrastructure, the cost shifts from capital to operational expenditure. Customers only pay for what they use. Some estimates say that using replication as a service can release savings of nearly 40% on traditional replication, bringing the benefits within reach of a much wider range of organisations. To summarise then, replication is the best way of ensuring that the growing volumes of business-critical data are always available. For those organisations unable to justify the capital expense and staffing requirements of a traditional replication system, and especially for those maintaining a complex mix of storage infrastructure, replication as a service could be the solution they've been looking for.